co-host, Ken Patel. I did invite his evil twin, Ben Patel, but unfortunately he could not show up today. Also with us is Adele Gutman, who formerly was the Queen Empress Empire of Aspire Reputation Management. Now she's an extreme potentate of AdeleGutman.com, which I think is
Just
way
to make
better.
my life easier.
Way better because everybody knows you, Adele. So it's like, why not name the company after you? Come on. And also, birthday boy himself, Mr. Dean Schmidt, who just turned just shy of 29-ish.
Exactly.
And since Adele was so kind in getting Ken to join us, I'll please ask Adele to introduce Ken to us so that everyone understands who our guest co-host is today.
I would be delighted. I am so pleased to introduce you to Ken Patel, who is the CEO of EvHotel Group. And right now, they are inviting new hotels for management and also for technology, and are preparing for their big launch this early summer, I think. Is that right, Ken?
Correct. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here. Yeah, we're what I would say revolutionary. I mean, basically a lot of innovations behind it. EvHotel Group isn't your grandfather's company anymore. It's more of, we have two divisions, a technology division, a hospitality management division. We're going to be introducing the world's first ever all-in-one technology solution for hospitality that ranges from your complete pre-check-in models to all the way down to back office operations. Very analytic, very AI driven. And I always say it's more on, as we can get on a flight as easy as possible, we should be able to get into our room as easy as possible. And that's where we want to streamline all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a hotelier for 40 years, it is so great to hear somebody is going to break down each aspect of that guest journey and also the employee journey and think about, what needs to change. Because a lot of things I think we just do on automatic pilot, or we change things small at one time at a time. But I love the idea that you're starting fresh, clean slate. And, what made you decide to do that?
One word, old. Everything is archaic. We have archaic systems everywhere. And, being in this industry now almost 25 years, starting since I was 16, and being in Dubai for 4 years, that's where I got my MBA at Emirates Academy. And I would say taking a lot of different philosophies behind it. And I'm a very, tech savvy person where I like technology, and being in this industry where I've seen that technology it's a big black hole, right? We don't even have the word technology on our P&Ls. We don't even budget it. So, and the guests, this is all about the employees and the guests. I mean, the employees are frustrated. The guests are frustrated. They're not getting what they pay for. The guests aren't getting what they rightly deserve. And the employees themselves, it's been a big struggle for this industry. And I would say I hate when people use the word that they don't want to work. I don't think it's that they don't want to work. We're not providing them the resources. We're not rewarding them. We're not giving them the engagement levels. So and it comes down to all of that. I mean, everything's a problematic issue, and I've said it on shows before. We spent enough money to do a lot of case studies to know where the industry currently sits. And what we're doing is basically taking all those problematical issues that we have, and we're bringing them to light with obviously out of this world solutions. And those solutions have to do with technology.
I think you're right when it comes to people. I think we're wired for achievement and for success And for, I mean, just as we are, that we are social, we want to move our bodies. I mean, we like good food. Just as all those things are true, I think that we get pleasure from seeing some accomplishment and seeing some reward. You're just knowing that we did it.
Yes.
Gives you that dopamine or whatever it is that gives you. I don't know. Whatever it is. But I think that that's so true. And sometimes we just say, oh, people aren't working hard. Well, we've made it so hard for them that they feel like they're wasting their time and they don't see the results of their efforts. So to have a system that really takes away the unmeaningful part and lets you focus on the good part. And also, what about that stack that of all the things that don't talk very well to each other, and trying to figure, for a person who was not born in the technology time like me, I was 30 years old before I ever pressed an on button on a computer.
Yeah.
So I had to just learn because I had to, because I wanted my hotel to be a success. I moved from making sales calls to dealing with the computer because I had to. I had no choice. And I hope that you are saving the sales and marketing people of the world for having to struggle with all those
We've got something that's going to be
that.
a home run for them. I mean, we have that I obviously can't disclose yet because we're not in that phase. And that's where the software has 4 different phases and it covers everything from A to Z all in one solution. And that's where the guests would obviously scan a QR code to get into the guest portal. The employees will have their own portal. We've got the social media platform, an internal social media platform. So now it also eliminates from the front desk being the captain of the ship, right? The guests are going to be able to directly communicate with individual employees. And based on what their requests are, I think what the other aspect is, we've got the autonomous tipster that we call it. So now they don't need to leave money in the room. They don't need to be carrying cash to tip an employee. They can directly tip employees that they like, or, there's just better input, better insights, and it goes on clean data. And I'll throw an example out there is that right now, if your hotel's serving breakfast, your breakfast hostess comes in 6 in the morning, asks the front desk agent how many rooms you got in-house. They say 20. They're preparing food for 20 rooms. Now, our insight during the pre-check-in model is going to be able to give them the exact count of people that will be attending breakfast. And that's just one little aspect of things. There's obviously a lot more, and we just don't want to leave any data on islands anymore. It's all about clean data.
Ken, I know that Adele probably briefed you that the format of the show is for all of us to ask highly invasive questions that are revealing and painfully truthful in their answer replies. And, it's a whole expose thing. We're very aggressive and we're going to drive down to the points. But no, besides from all that, you're cracking a really big nut. There's a lot for all of it. First off, congratulations on first even tackling that kind of problem to it. But I think you also are reflecting something that we have said in times past, all of us in different ways, that disparity or challenge that we're facing today breeds inspiration and innovation. We haven't tackled it this way. We've lived in the self-incestuous ecosystem of once signed up with somebody, you are forever tied to them and reliant on them to develop any technologies used by them in their platforms. And they don't work well with others. They purposely don't work well with others. And if they do try to work with others, you're the one end up paying it because you're giving them money just to flip a switch. You're saying, let's scratch that whole model. Let's go and say, let's imagine a world where everything works together. And hey, let's tackle things that aren't even being tackled right now. Like, as you said, tipping your staff team members without having to go through where do I leave the $1? Where do I leave the $5, $10? What, is there an envelope? Is there a card? Who am I giving it to? Is it just whoever walked in the door gets it? And maybe not the girl that I was been, having to clean my room, or the guy that's been cleaning my room for 10 days. You're solving a lot of those things as well. Kudos. I mean, because there's God knows how many hotels that we keep advocating right now. If you could do any one thing, is update your damn tech.
Yeah.
Because the world's different.
And when your PMS says, go ahead and update it, I know that doesn't cost very much for the update thing that you want, but you have to pay us $10,000.
Yeah.
You're hostage. It's
Yeah.
so painful.
It is. I mean, the whole process is painful, and it's been my vision now for 10 years. As I built another management company 10 years ago, is it, you know, when it comes to technology, I mean, I had one of the first hotels to sign up with a software called Core, right? I've done it with other softwares and other softwares. And I always found that for our employees and even our guests, I mean, we're giving them 5 different options. And I mean, if I had 5 different links linked in, I wouldn't know what to do with it, you know? So, the solution had to be that we got to introduce technology. And I think the home run hitter for me was Airbnb. When they came out, I said, these guys are going to kill it. They're going to kill it. Because why? It's a convenience for the guest. It's a convenience for their staff. It's a convenience for everybody. It's not a hospitality company. It's a technology company. It's a click and go process. And we need to have a click and go process, because it's like for a guest that travels a 6-hour flight, now he's waiting 15 minutes in line to get a room key. I mean, you don't need to do that when you take a flight. When you go to the airport, you just get to the security checkpoint and present your boarding pass, and you're good to go. So why are we any different? I mean, still we have brands like Marriott, and I love Marriott. So if anyone from Marriott's listening, I'm not bad mouthing you, but for the mobile key aspect, right? It's only geared towards our members. And at that same point, it's a mobile key, but they can't go directly to their room because they got to present their ID at the front desk before they can turn that mobile key technology on for the guests. We're very different. We're not making this just for members or anybody else. We're doing this for everybody, where they're going to be able to get the whole feel of it. So, and the whole thing is, and it goes back to the PMS aspect, right? Everything is integrated. There's no entering human data. Everything is integrated with the PMSs. So it's pulling the data from the PMSs.
Ken, may I introduce Mr. Stuart Butler with Fuel Travel?
Hey,
Stuart is, thank God you're here, Stuart, because I was running out of intelligent questions for technology. God knows you're the guy. But I think you've been listening in before you joined in as well. But we're talking about tech stack and integrations and single solutions and so forth. And I know you face very similar challenges that you provide technology solutions in a variety of ways as well. Anyway, that I just want to make sure with the introduction.
Not at all. The hospitality industry is the most forward-thinking industry in the world when it comes to
Mr.
technology.
Sarcastic.
We're so far ahead of every other discipline. It's unreal.
Very straightforward.
So Ken, there are definitely a lot of different pieces, and from what I'm hearing, you're connecting all of them together. I live in the world of e-commerce and connectivity, distribution, and those things. So we've talked about front desk, housekeeping, sales and marketing in-house. Tell me a little bit about the electronic part of that, the digital part of that, and what sort of things are you doing with the connectivity world, distribution, managing online campaigns, OTAs, and those kind of things?
Yeah, so we're going to have our own booking agent. That's in the works of the phase 1 implementation. So the phase 1 implementation is going to have the own booking agent. Now that booking agent will have an airline payment model. So basically you book the room and you pay for the room, you cancel within 48 hours, you'll get reimbursed. You don't cancel within 48 hours. Now that streamlines the front desk operations. Why would the guest book it when they don't have to pay? We're actually throwing incentives that's along with our partnerships that no one else can do. So those incentives will entice the guests for them to actually book those stays.
So how will distribution be impacted?
I don't I think when we talk about distribution, and I've said this plenty of times, is that we're changing this industry to having new findings, right? There's going to be new positions. There's going to be new things that we're going to implement. We're going to we're going to create brand engagement. With our booking agent, what's it going to do? It's going to almost put the OTAs in an elimination phase. Obviously, you can't take out Expedia and you can't take out Booking, but our goal is not to take them out. Our goal is to have them start working with us. And working with us, I mean, is let's all go to an airline payment model. Let's all go to that avenue, because a case study that we had, there was a 68% cancellation rate on third parties. That means the hotels did not benefit at all. So, and when we go to that distribution line, are we going to have all these guys work with us on our booking agent? It's not going to happen right away. I mean, Tesla sold 12,500 cars in 2012. In 2020, they sold 500,000. So we can't have everybody start working with us right away, but we're going to create this guest engagement that the guests are going to take so kindly to it that they'll have no choice to work with us.
So, forgive me, I missed the start of the conversation when you did the intros. But how many properties do you have under your umbrella, and what destinations are they in?
So currently, I think you missed the whole thing.
Sorry.
I think
They're launching in early summer.
Yeah, we're launching the first ever hospitality's all-in-one software solution. The date is Memorial Weekend. It emphasizes on every single department. The first phase focuses on the front-facing technology. That includes the chatbots, complete pre-check-in, no credit card needed, no driver's license, no ID. It's a guest profile, a guest insight focused on AI, internal social media platform, booking agent, and that's only in phase one. In phase two, we get into back office operations. That includes revenue management, accounting, labor. Then we have phase three and phase four. So currently, we have about 54 hotels that are ready to sign on. I can't go a lot into that because they're on a signing table. Legals told me I can't really speak about that too much because they're already.
You can tell us. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's only us. It's only fun. Drinking coffee, hanging out, talking.
So, and the thing is that we're not only implementing the technology at that point. Like in the beginning of the call, we have two divisions: technology division and a hospitality management division, where we have data analysts and then teams in the hospitality management. So once we put the technology in, we also manage those properties. So right off the bat, we have close to 50 hotels under our umbrella. We're looking somewhere in the range of 300 by the end of the year. So I don't know if that answers your question.
So are you going to have to manage them for people to use your technology, or that's just an option if they want it?
Well, I mean, just to speak on these 50 plus hotels, we gave them the option, but when they saw our guarantee, because we're the only company that guarantees over a 42% GOP and an under 20% on the labor percentage, they wanted us to manage it. And I think that goes with everybody.
So that's your goal. You want to essentially become a brand.
Yes.
To compete with, okay. And yes. Are all the properties going to fly the same flag, or are they all going to be boutique? Or how is that going to be structured?
That's up to our hedge fund. I mean, that question would ultimately come down to what our hedge fund decides, what they want to do with it.
Right.
Because, they do have the final say on all the decisions, I think. One of the things I could tell you is, I don't consider myself to be second generation because of the fact that nobody in my family is in hotels. I got doctors, radiologists in the U.S. Army, and parents are business owners, retired, never did hotels. But, we want to be, I had a conversation with HOA, and, we feel that our second generations never went into the upper mid-scale and luxury side of things. And our hedge fund wanted us to go explore to get into, let's say, Four Seasons, the Ritz, a higher boutique brands. And we're planning to. I think that'll be more for 2022. But we'll venture into that and we'll explore that avenue. And just not in the US, because we want this to be an international company. And that's our focus as well. We want to be an international brand. We want to be an international company.
So your goal, I mean, it's obviously a lofty one, and you're not the first to have the vision that you have. I mean, you look at the path that folks like Pegasus or Sabre or Amadeus have taken. You know, although they've tried to build a lot of the components, they've also acquired a lot to try to get best in breed. So,
right.
What differentiates you guys from what they've tried to do, and obviously haven't had the type of success that they hoped they would have in terms of controlling the entire ecosystem from a technology standpoint?
New data. We don't have any arcade systems. I believe there's way too many archaic systems out there. There's not enough updates. I mean, you can look at any system that's in hospitality and you tell me if they've got a brand new Android system or an Apple update or any of those kind of updates. They cost money and they cost heavy amounts of dollars. You know, technology has to come with an update all the time, where the update is focused on the current trends. And we feel we're going to have all the current trends all the time. And that even goes on to one of our other partnerships now that's going to involve with autonomous valet service, self-driving. So where the guest is going to be able to request their car, if it's self-driving, and it'll pull right up, right through the guest app. So I mean, these are kind of the trends that we're going to follow, you know, and do the things that are needed to be done as of right now. You know, and I'm not going to throw any of these softwares under the bus, but I can point probably 100 of them that's in hospitality right now. And it makes me think of me carrying a Nextel around 15 years ago, you know, where they haven't got any updates. They have physically not put any updates into it.
Sure. So are you guys going to build the PMS as well, or are you going to build on top of existing technology there?
We're not going to do anything currently with the PMS. I'm not going to say that's not the plan later on, but right now the focus is integration from the PMS into our all software solution. And our software is called EvHuman.
So you're still paying the PMS every time you want to integrate.
We are. I know that's a big.
So it's a real pain point.
Well, it's also a limitation, right? So I don't know if you know about my company, Fuel, but we do some of what you're talking about. I'd say the customer facing side. We don't get into the operations, but we have booking engine technology and mobile app technology with digital key and a lot of the things you're describing. The limitation isn't in our capabilities or our imagination. The limitation is the PMS 9 out of 10. You know, either functionality doesn't exist in the API, or you have to create some cumbersome workarounds to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So that's probably one of the things you're going to run into. And the problem is I think there's over 700 PMSs in our industry that I would consider viable right now and have a critical mass of properties. And they all approach things from a completely different perspective. They all have their unique selling value proposition that just means it's a little just more challenging every time you meet a new PMS. You got to overcome a new set of hurdles. So what's your goal in terms of penetration and integration? What have you targeted a handful of PMSs that you're going to be preferred partners with, or?
We're not going to partner with the PMS because, I've had the conversation with, my connections within Hilton and Marriott, IHG, Choice, and with global heads on what our initial plan is to do probably down the line with the PMSs, and I can't go too much into that just because of the fact that, legal's asked me not to talk about it. But, what I would tell you is we do have an ultimate plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan itself it's almost like, let's say Marriott operates Fosse. Now they're going to Opera, right? And that's something they had to do 5 years ago. But now to get one PMS in there and say, okay, now all these hotels are going to kind of have to do the implementation to get convert over to this PMS. We would love to have something that's cloud-based. We feel very strong about it, where if it's cloud-based, I think it's very efficient and it operates well, right? It kind of eliminates all this server issues that we have at the hotel level. I mean, there's constant server issues at the hotel level. Like Marriott needs to put their router. The router goes down. The router breaks. Fossey's not working. Guests can't be checked in. I mean, you just have enormous amount of technology issues when it comes down to it. So there's some solutions that we have in mind for it. And we haven't ventured that much into it, but it's something that's a conversation, and we don't want to.
You have a lot of hardware requirements. Or are you going to be able to operate within the current hardwares that are being used? Are you going to say, no, you need this level of hardware? Or, I mean, is there going to be that kind of integration?
We feel that our solution that's going to come down the line, there will be no hardware required at the hotel level, as long as you have a PC. And that's kind of the solution, and that's through our international partners. And obviously our hedge fund's very big. So, we had to provide and when we talk an all-in-one solution, this is an all-in-one solution. I mean, this is where we're talking about revolutionizing the entire industry, whether it's on the guest side, the employee side, the hotelier side. So, and these are all the problematic issues that I've seen in 25 years. Everything that I'm telling you, I'm a witness to it. So, this is something that I'm going to want to change. And these are conversations that we've had. Obviously, we can't do everything all at once. We have to kind of go through some adoption levels, and we have to go through some things as well. I mean, that's why I think I was talking to Dell about that. We've still got 54 positions out there in the United States open. That's our business development specialist position. So we're getting ourselves out there. We're opening up a lot of different avenues, especially in the Caribbean and Latin America as well. So there's a lot of adoption going on. And we would love the PMS piece to come alive sooner than we think. But, when you have a player like Oracle in the game, you're going up against somebody very big.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
And they're it's turning an existing hotel. It's not a new build.
No.
So it seems to me like you're like going counter to the rest of the industry right now. I think for a long time there were these big behemoths that were trying to do exactly what you're describing, where they wanted to be in complete control of the entire tech stack. And then I think the consensus and the conventional wisdom that's arisen from that is, well, if you try to do all things, you become a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I think over the last 5 years, we've been moving towards folks being more selective about best in breed products in each vertical. And the industry is putting a lot of resources towards connectivity, right? So you see folks like Happy coming out and others that are creating data buses and data warehouses to handle the problem of the legacy PMSs and creating a normalized API communication platform. And so, that I think most folks that I've experienced over the last 5 years are really embracing that philosophy of, I want an ecosystem where I can select the best booking engine for my needs, and I can select the best mobile app for my needs and the best whatever for my needs, and plug and play with very little friction. And they work together in this amazing way. And you're saying the opposite. It seems like we're going backwards towards something that has been tried many, many times and has failed many, many times. So help me understand, like, what sets you apart? Why do you believe you can accomplish what thousands and thousands of people and developers have tried in the past?
Well, you got to be strategic, right? You have to be strategic. You can't just lay the groundwork all at once and think it's going to be this big invention. And it goes back to Tesla. Tesla did a great job in marketing. Tesla did a great job in penetrating that market, where they were able to penetrate an $80 billion industry. Now Lucid's doing the same thing. Motors, the CEO of Tesla's, he was a chief engineer of the Model S. Now, what we're able to do is look at all these problematical issues. You know, when we say disruptors are usually people that are from the outside. But now we're talking about having a disruption from the inside, where somebody that's actually witnessed all of it. And when we look at it, where, okay, if somebody's trying to implement technology in hospitality, they need to understand from A to Z. You can't just do front-face technology. You just can't do revenue management. You can't do this. You can't do that. You got to do the whole nine, because nobody wants to pay 5 different support fees, 6 different support fees. The guests don't want to have one area where they're like, my toilet's broken. You want me to use Kipsu? For Hilton uses Kipsu, and then they use that to kind of make their request. And then the agent's still making a departure call. We've been doing repeated tasks in hospitality over and over. Now we want to take care of those repeated tasks, and we want to eliminate those repeated tasks. So whatever people have tried before, I can't speculate on what they've tried before. Now, what we're doing is something that no one has tried to do. They haven't tried to come up with all these different things that have been problematic. You know, they haven't been able to tackle the 28 to 30 minutes industry standards on the minutes per room, where we're going to be bringing that down to 18 to 20 minutes. No one has done that, or no one has even shred probably 2 minutes off that timeline, where we're going to be able to shred that timeline. We're going to be able to take the front desk out of being the captain of the ship, where the guest doesn't have to reach out to the front desk for a wake-up call. They don't have to reach out to the front desk to get engineered to their room. They don't have to reach out to the front desk to get towels to their room. The GM doesn't have to sit for an hour to scan 20 invoices, where they can just feed the scanner, and then the invoices will be customized by GL codes by itself within the software. So all of these things is something that's just not focused on one area. It's focused on a magnitude and an abundance of areas.
And it's
Sure.
also blended with the guest experience and hotel management side of it, you know, not just the tech, I think.
So do you see yourselves as a brand or as a technology company?
We don't consider ourselves a brand right now. There's no reason for us to say we want to be a brand and we don't want to be a brand. I mean, we look at it as we're the first ever technology hospitality management company. We're never going to say we're not going to be a brand. You know, the focus area right now is to deliver on the promises that we're making. And that's the 42% over GOP, under 20% on the labor, and getting this all-in-one solution into these brands. I mean, we've already had a conversation.
How do you guarantee that? You haven't. This isn't a model that's live. So how do you make those kind of claims?
Our guiding metrics. I've turned plenty of hotels around throughout my career to know where it all falls through. But if I give you the whole insight, you're probably gonna have to pay me for it. Right? I would tell you this, right? Is if you're in the business and if you understand the numbers, you understand what it takes day in, day out of taking a 28% GOP hotel and the next month is 45%. There's a formula behind that. It's just not revenue. There's obviously a formula that you have to follow, whether it has to do contract pricing. It needs to be done with weekly, monthly budgets. It needs to be done with performance. It needs to be done on all different levels to get to those numbers. You know,
I guess my question kind of lends itself a little to what Stuart's asking too. We're in a unique environment right now, COVID and so forth, and debt structure is debt structure. And I know you don't know much about my history, but I can probably make the same claim. I've turned lots of places around, and run them from the seat.
Right.
And from that perspective, I mean, you can burn a hotel to make those numbers. You know,
Yeah.
you can make those numbers, and then a year later walk away from a shell. You know, that's not a claim to fame. That's an unfortunate circumstance of looking dollars over service. With that being said, you know, from a guarantee perspective, what was the inspiration for you all to think that this is the solution for what hotels are emerging from now? To again, to some earlier discussion, you're looking at centralizing things, and I totally applaud the idea that you're going to be taking on individual aspects of things that have not been tacked on. Like, you know, okay, getting a car, that's great. Being able to create airline engagement, that's great. Being able to not have to go through an arduously lengthy process about checking in, similar to airlines checking in, that's great. All of that being said, there is going to be the how much money do we have to spend for conversation that will always happen as to the PMS replacement, PMS integration, tech stack usage. And you're working against the very thing that people condemn other platforms for, which I think is a little bit of what Stuart was mentioning. You promised you're going to do all this, and instead now I'm held hostage because you're the only one I've bought with. You know, that whole, hey, I got to pay money for you to flip a switch mentality. How can you get past all that? I know the guarantees are great. Believe me, that's a great sell point. But how do you get past the stigma that our industry has created for itself of you're just another promising me that this is going to be solved and you're going to solve future problems, but really, in all honesty, I'm being held to the exclusivity of my relationship with you. How is that going to get tackled in time, do you think?
We're different than other management companies where they have a 6-year contract with a 3-year out, where we've done all our contracts are 12 months. We tell you that 12 months, we'll show you what we can do. If you're satisfied, that's great. If you're not satisfied, then you know what, we'll move on. Why we do that is because we're very, very, very confident. We've done over $2 million of case studies. We've worked with data scientists from the most prestigious universities that you can think of. We've been able to lay out certain numbers as we were able to get. And what we feel, and I've said this before, we're just not your old style management company. We're not I don't want to name any of them, but we're not operating the way they operate. You know, and me working with most of them, I've seen how they operate and what they do. The focus is on revenue. All these other focus areas are out the window. The onboarding's out the window. You know, the expenses are out the window. You know, when they sign on with certain hotels, we can look at their GOPs. And why doesn't anybody ever talk about GOPs? There's a reason why. Nobody ever speaks about GOPs. If anyone could pull out an article and tell me the biggest management company and what their average GOP is, I would love to see that, because I don't think it's anywhere near 42%.
Mm-hmm. Shifting gears a little bit, I mean, thank you. I mean, for all the information for it, and I wish you everything but success for it. Given current circumstances now, given the fact that we're now in February of what we thought would be farther along with the positiveness of what might be happening and so forth, how do you see the industry changing over the next remainder of this year? I mean, what's your timeline of consideration, not just in relationship to what you're offering to the market, but how do you see the market changing by the time that this year ends?
Not good. I mean, if you want my honest opinion,
no, please. That's what. Yeah, that's.
It's not. I don't see recovery happening in this industry till 2023, the first quarter of 2023. We're building more hotels for no reason at all. We've built. My thing is that we haven't built structure. We're lacking in building company structures, and we're just building more hotels. We're focused on acquisitions instead of structure. And we need to get to the level of, let's have a better structure that goes more on our employees. And what I see, 2021 is a wash right now. No matter what we do, 2021 is not going to have any sort of incline to it. You know, it's in the level of, we saw 15 years in a row of ADR increases, right? As from the financial crisis of 2008, and we saw the inclines happening somewhere, I don't know, it was 2009, somewhere around there, 2010. And what I would tell you right now is the guest engagement levels and also consumer spending are at the lowest levels. I mean, if we looked at a graph from Wall Street and saw the consumer spending levels, it's at the lowest levels since the 60s and 70s. And that doesn't, and there's obviously the segment of business traveler. When you take that segment out of business travelers, I mean, we're not getting business travelers back in 2021. I mean, you look at the New York City side of things right now, is they had the number of letting everybody come back to the offices in June, July. Now that's been pushed to September, and September will become December. So, and I mean, I'm in Atlanta and North Atlanta, and I would tell you we've been open the whole time, right? Pre-COVID, the Atlanta occupancy numbers were at 72%. Now, what do we think they are right now? I mean, they got no conventions. This is considered to be a convention city, and they have no conventions going on at all. They're so focused on the film industry. They're obviously making revenues off of the film industry. But when we think of it this way, right, is how are hotels making money right now? And are hotels making money? There's hotels that are making money. There's hotels that aren't making money. And there's your division that we would, not anybody here's division, but the economy division is making enormous strides. They're making a lot of money. Why is that happening? And it goes back to consumer spending. The consumer spendings are at the lowest levels. And when that happens, we're looking at, is the guest willing to spend $100 or is the guest willing to spend the 80? I know brand new Hilton hotels that are doing $60 and $70 a night right now. Brand new. I mean, they have no choice.
Well, okay. I'll get back to that because actually I have something I'd like to comment about that. But just take a segment right now, and in your mind, what's the timeline for this segment? Corporate travel. If you can take us through what you think current corporate travel is looking like, which I think we all kind of know already, but just to say, and how do you draw it through a timeline as to where you think it's going to be, whatever time you think that it turns into being revalued again to a level that would be defined?
So we had, there was a conversation. I was overhearing that conversation because I was on that conference call. It was the American Airlines CEO. I think he said it perfectly. As soon as we introduce the vaccine passports that the other countries have done and digitalize that passport, I think we're going to have some confidence come back. And I totally agree with that. I mean, is it going to happen this year? I highly doubt it. We need to roll out the complete vaccine model for that to happen. And I believe the second quarter of 2022, I think we're going to start seeing business travelers get back out there. Till then, I mean, we're looking at an 18-month road right now. There's no doubt about it. Where from 18 months from now, we're going to see some sort of comeback happening. But if we've got this vision that something's going to happen in the next 8 to 10 months, it's absolutely not going to happen. I mean, we know that. I mean, there's conventions lined up to happen in August of this year, and they're all going to be pushed back.
Yeah, I'd look at it slightly different. I think there are segments that are going to be back a lot quicker than that. Leisure travel obviously has already shown, even last year, it was very strong through the summer for a lot of destinations, and all the lead indicators right now. We've got a lot of clients that have had their in terms of booking pace, their record February. They've already hit it halfway through the month. So I think it depends a lot on your situation, your destination, your market segment. There's a lot of factors. I certainly think business is going to take a while, international even more so, but I'm a little more confident than you, I guess, because a lot of our clients skew more towards the leisure type of destination.
Yeah, regional travel. I'm gonna agree with you as well on that. It's regional travel is up. You know, if when we're talking about regional travel, whether it's like Florida, Georgia, I mean those markets. Miami's market, it's been booming the whole time.
Mhm.
I mean, their star reports are very strong, right? Cancun came back very strong as well. Cancun numbers are phenomenal, right? But then we look at markets like New York City. We look at markets that are on the colder front. They're obviously not doing well. You know, their numbers are not there. It's just as me coming from New York City, every time I know that it's January, February, I want to make that travel to the warmer weather, right? I want to hit, I mean, March is when we usually go to Cancun. We spend a week there. We go to Costa Rica or somewhere out there. So I feel people they're upset to be stuck inside and not do anything. So we are going to see that leisure market develop. I mean, everybody's focus right now is on a leisure market, right? And all those leisure markets are doing well because of that. I
Yeah, and
mean,
I think even areas like New York could potentially benefit from that because you touched on something interesting, which was consumer spending has been down for several months trailing, but also the savings index is up significant. So it's the spending isn't down because people don't have the means; it's because they don't have the confidence. And so there's a lot of tension being put on this rubber band of people, especially the broad middle class in this country that have been told they have to stay in. That they're discerning that that's the right thing for their family. They're nesting away some money, but their income levels is about where it is. So once they feel like individually they have confidence, once things like this, Broadway opens back up in New York, my suspicion is we're going to see what we saw in areas like Panama City Beach and Daytona Beach and Miami and Myrtle Beach last year, where there was just this tidal wave of demand that hit because people were taking advantage of the fact they had more money, the costs were lower, and this was an opportunity for them to see a lot of value for their bucks. So I think areas like New York, once we get to a certain point with the vaccinations, which we're at 10% of the population right now in the US is being vaccinated, once we get to 50, 60, 70%, or more importantly, once certain individuals have been vaccinated themselves and they have their own confidence to travel, I think we're likely going to see that same kind of tidal wave demand happen in some of these metro areas too.
well, and I'll tell you about when you spoke about a savings index. I'll tell you where that money's going right now. That money, where we've seen people save a lot of money, it's going into the stock market. So the stock market is getting abundance. If you look at, I mean, why we hit 30,000 on the Dow as a record. We're almost about to hit 32,000 on the Dow now. GME, GameStop. That GameStop money came from the stimulus money. So the stimulus checks that came in, those people. So people are seeing this that okay, let me start putting some money into the stock market. So when you're doing a lot of funds into the market itself, now when that market's getting the money, that consumer spending levels are going down. So if the bubble burst on the stock market, then I would feel that consumer spending will come back a little bit more at a higher level. But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I mean, till then, we're going to see a little bit of struggle. And that's kind of where we come up with our date for the hotel industry.
I want to go back to something you mentioned before and kind of bring that down a little bit to a conversation that's been kind of near to my heart for the past couple of weeks. Ever since Robert really brought it up, and Robert is one of our other co-hosts, in his what he calls stupid people quotient, Sapolis grid. You mentioned how you had examples of like a Hilton, offering $50, $60 because they have to.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's a have to, or is it just a bad choice that they did?
I would say, I would probably say, everybody's in a panic mode, right? They want revenue. They're like, you know what? We need revenue. Let's just get it whichever way possible. We cannot have a room empty, right? They've become what I call a pandemic panic mode. And it's where they see that they just built this hotel. They spent $20 million their banks are like, okay, you need to still make your mortgage. They're like, we got to make the mortgage whichever way we can. So at that point, the revenue management is out the window. There's no revenue management. That's why the brand said we're going to cut down on our revenue management teams. And I think what Marriott's and Hilton's, they might have brought them back now, but I don't know where they are currently. They cut their revenue management teams down because nothing on the Star Report mattered anymore. There was that data on the Star Report that everybody would be looking at that didn't matter. But do I feel like they have to do it, or it's a fine line where I feel like they don't have to do it, but they're pressured into doing it.
You know what? If they had kept someone who was an expert at revenue management, and I will try to channel my Lily and everything I've heard from Lily before. You're a fool if you let the hotels that are above you in your comp set that are normally charge more go way below you and not move with the market. But also, if you constantly try to go $5 lower than the other guy, you're just going to be on a downward spiral. So just stay in your niche, or even, maybe even $5 more or the same as the person above you. But you're just making it worse for everybody, and you're not inspiring travel. Better to charge a little bit and do something that inspires travel.
Well, you run into another problem too, is that you're offering you have full service Hilton hotel and you're offering a $60 rate. And so now how are you offering that? Well, you're cutting staff, right? You got fewer wait staff. The bartender has shorter hours. Maybe you close the bar for that matter. All those different things. And speaking to Adele's niche, where she works, actually, you run into this problem where now somebody goes to the Hilton expecting to be at a Hilton, and they find that they're at a travel lodge, right? Yeah. And so they end up giving that Hilton, a 5-star Hilton, a 1-star review. And in the meantime, the 2-star hotel over here is getting a 5-star review because they went there with no expectations, but got everything they expected, and they're happy with it, right? So it's going to come out. The guest feedback that we're going to see on properties doing this is going to really drive the market and determine what they're able to do with that.
I'll since Adele quoted one of our other co-hosts that's not with us currently, and I'll quote another one, Ed. I would pick a stand. This is a stupid decision.
We're quoting Ed now?
I'm quoting Ed now. This is just, I'm going to put a stick in the sand.
Tell him because his ego's too big already.
This is ego boost for him. This is a stupid decision. I mean, stupid people in the context of they're not unintelligent and they're not trying to do their best or whatever. They've made a decision. The definition of what I consider stupid people, or what Cipolle does, from what Robert shared with us, is they made a decision that not only hurt themselves but hurt others. Because what they've done, everything to what Adele just said and what Dean has alluded to as well, is not only have they lost money in doing so, they've cost other people in the market money as well. Because everything you just said up to this point, people do have expendable income. There is a demand of different categories of people, whether it be regionally or type of industry or whatever, that have the funds to do it. And we know very specifically in the current market, people have basically two effects of travel: because they have to or because they believe they can. Either people, it's not a price issue, it's a travel opportunity issue. It's not whether you're $10 less than somebody else, it's whether they want to travel and what is it they want to do, or where do they want to stay when they make that choice. And that is not a rate decision by comparison of others. As to what Adele said, if you're in $5 or $10 difference, that's not really the issue of defining. Are you of the safety mind that I need to be? Are you near what I need to be to? Is there things
value is the word to look for.
Those are the effective issues. The 5 things that are directly related to stupid people decisions in our industry, and I mean stupid again, being not unintelligent, but making poor decisions that affect negatively those in your market and you yourself. You've blown the grenade up with you, so to speak. One is that you've gone over and reduced your brand standard, which Dean alluded to. to you've gone over and reduced rate unnecessarily to go over and try to generate any revenue rather than realizing that it's better to have had the rate value already. You've reduced your staffing level to compensate for costs associated with operations because now your standards are lower. And the other, which goes to it directly, is you reduced your brand standard levels because of trying to save costs towards it. These are all stupid decisions related to those things.
Yeah,
so
I
test
agree.
examples of that would be if you're doing $50, $60 rates when the market says it should be $100, $110, you are making a very poor, I won't even use the nasty word to it, decision that negatively affects you and others.
And I'll put a little empathy on this one because I agree with 100% of what you're saying. But to me, it's the analogy I would use is when you want to lose some pounds, right? If you feel like you need to diet because you're heavier than you need to be for your health, then a lot of people struggle because they don't know what to do. And even though all the data out there pushes you down a path of how to manage your weight and lose some pounds, everyone starts by starving themselves. That's the go-to because it's the easy one that they know how to control, even though it's counterintuitive, even though you might get short-term benefit, but long-term you're going to rebound in a negative way. People still do it because they don't know. They either don't have the training, they don't have the support, they don't have the infrastructure to do the necessary thing that is more complex, more involved. In the hotel industry, reevaluating your distribution channels, reevaluating your costs, reevaluating your strategies.
Marketing.
These are the things that you have to do, which are akin to like exercise or better nutrition or better sleep patterns. It's harder to do the right thing. So I don't necessarily think in every case someone's stupid, to use your word. I think sometimes they're just desperate and they don't know.
Well, the definition of why I'm saying stupid is that you're making a decision that negatively impacts yourself and others. I mean, you want to call it poor decision, ineffective decision, whatever.
Well, I would just probably say this too. Most of these, speaking to a lot of people during the pandemic and even owners reaching out to me, and all these rates and everything didn't come down from the hotel level. I could tell you that it didn't come down from the hotel level. It came from the very high up.
Sure.
Very high up, and
it doesn't make it a smarter decision though.
Right. Yeah, but it was desperation because they had a note to pay. They had no choice but to make the bank payment.
Yeah, Stuart said it perfectly. I think it's desperate. It was definitely desperation because the pressure that came down from the banks went down to the owners. The owners are like, you know what? If we're not selling at $90 or $100, we need to bring this down to $60. And if the Comfort Suites next door is doing $70 rates and they're occupied 80%, let's bring it down. Let's take some of their guests. And then you know what happened after that? Those $60 rates trashed the rooms. Mm-hmm. And they're just an abundance of issues.
Ken, I'll infer to your past experience when I say this. You're faced as a GM or as a corporate representative with choices of compliance and or blame. Did I do what you asked me to do in the capacity so I can do a mea culpa? Hey, dude, I dropped the rates. I did everything you asked me to do. Don't shoot me, okay? Yeah. First is, screw you. You're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. I'm the surgeon, not the patient. You don't tell me how to take your appendix out. I'm the doctor that knows how to do this. You hired me to do this job. Let me do this job. And dropping my pants, so to speak, and bending over for rate is not my way of getting business. If you want me to go over and let every two-bid hooker come into our hotel, I'll sell you your room by the hour. Yeah. But don't make me run your hotel because that's not the hotel you hired me to run. There has to be a little bit of accountability to this in the sense that you're making a crap decision. You know that this isn't going to generate business. But those that do it are doing it because I don't want to get shot for not doing it. So there is the reality of standing up to owners and saying, tell the bank,
they feel like they have to do something. You don't know what else to do. I do think that
I agree with you. I'm not stupid. Is not a statement of their intelligence.
I would tell you this as well, and just from during COVID, the experience that I had is you had a lot of employees that were scared. They were scared because they couldn't lose income. Nobody was hiring. So, standing up to someone and saying, I could see the fear in GMs. I definitely saw the fear in GMs that I've never ever seen before. And to see that they don't want to sell rooms at $60 and $70 when you're a full service hotel or you're an upper mid scale brand, but they had no choice. That's like, okay, you know what, we're gonna have to do this. I don't want to be let go, or I don't want the next one coming up. But I mean, I never agreed with it. I was so against it that I felt that what we're doing is we're not holding rate, and at the same time frame we're putting extra workload on our employees. We're having them clean this nice little room that was for $110 a night, and imagine cleaning $110 a room and imagine cleaning a $65 room. I mean, there's a vast difference.
Right. But this rate reduction strategy infiltration of market wasn't as soon as COVID hit. Everybody didn't change their rates. They had the pandemic to blame for the effect. And yes, I agree with you. People don't want to lose their job. But as we've gone forward and the companies have lost their buffers, or they're really getting to the point like, look, I need cash flow. Okay. I need to pay bills. I burned our savings or burned our backup to keep things floating until we got to a better place. And the better place is like a carrot that never gets to it. It's too far out. As you pointed out, 2023. Can I live until 2023? And now they're saying, what do I have to do to live? And they bring up the question, all right, what if we lower rates? And the GM and whoever's still left that likes their job or not, their job is better to in my mind, to say, look, this is not the reality of choice. This selling it at $60 isn't the reality.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go over and be market sensitive. There's other options, as in, to Stuart's point, being smarter for the solution rather than anybody can drop rate. I mean, that's the easiest thing to do,
right? And it's the logical thing to do if you haven't educated yourself on the ramifications, because in the short term it seems to create demand historically, but what we've seen in the pandemic is different behavior than we used to. Consumers aren't acting and making the decisions they would typically, because the motivators on them are completely different. It's fear is the biggest motivator right now, and fear of health, not of money. So
2 shows back or last show, we talked about, Lily brought this up, the first to drop the rate is the least to benefit from it. And so too is the last person. Somewhere in the middle, that person gets the most benefit of rate drop because they're sensitive to the rate to market.
Let's clarify though. They suffer the least from the rate drop.
Okay,
it's not
very good point.
No one gets the benefit from that, right? They all suffer. It's just the person that drops in the middle.
That bleeds the least. Yeah, that bleeds the least.
Yeah.
I mean, there is math to this.
No one benefits. Even the consumer, not one person benefits from a rate drop. Because when you drop the rate, you have to drop the quality of service and your value goes down. Yeah. So no one benefits from that.
Another approach to that is instead keep your rate where it was, right? You're at 110. What if you offer your guests, people booking with you direct, because I'm a fan of direct bookings, a $20 gift card towards a future stay?
Yep, much better. Every time.
You haven't dropped your rate, and they have to come back to use it.
That's the strategy that I've seen be most effective throughout this pandemic, is add value. Give people reassurance to mitigate their fear, but add value. Push them over the edge, because every day that goes by, there's more and more people that are getting to that point of being non-travelers that are getting closer to the point of crossing the threshold to being travelers again. About 53% of Americans have traveled since March. The number's been fairly flat, but it does continue to increase slightly. And as the vaccine rolls out, that number's going to continue to increase at an exponential rate. So your job as a hotel is to say, choose me. Here are the things I'm doing to mitigate your risk. Here's the value I'm providing. And here's the stuff that differentiates me, the stuff that you're willing to pay for because it makes me better than the competition. If you can do that, you're going to win.
Can you go back to the professors you were talking about? Go ahead, Adele. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Are you sure? Also, what has worked for a lot of people is the diminishing the restrictions and making it easier to say yes. And I have always been the hugest proponent of the airline pricing model of fixed, super flexible, mini, sort of kind of moderately flexible, and then completely prepaid non-refundable. I love that model. I get the people who are flexible to pay extra, and the people who are prepaying me are at the rate that I wanted to get in the first place. But if you want the flexibility, it's there for you. And if you need something in the middle, it's there for you. So, but everybody, even the airlines, have dropped their inflexibility in a lot of cases, and definitely all the hotels have, because nobody would be buying what you're selling with that. And that is a concern that needs to be thought about.
But it's driven by uncertainty. And as we get further through this, although clarity isn't there yet, the uncertainty reduces every day that goes by, right? So if you'd asked us back in March, when would the pandemic be over, you could have laid some bets that it might be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, but you would be shooting in the dark, right? But I think if you asked anyone here if this is still going to be going on in 2025, we'd probably all say no. The chances of that are very small. I'd put a high percentage bet on that not being the case. Well, maybe 2024. No, again, still, it's not. I think most people at this point feel confident that if I'm making a decision for Q3 or 4 of this year, the risk is pretty low at this point, unless one of these variants really blows up beyond what we're expecting it to. The vaccine should be at a level by the fall that we're going to be a lot less restricted than we are today. But it's playing the odds. It's all about risk mitigation. And
that's why for this year, even early next year.
Ken, going back to Ken, you mentioned you were dealing with professors from a variety of universities and so forth. I think one of the fundamental points that all of them make, because I guest speak at universities a lot, but they give the scenario: would you rather have a 100-room hotel at 100% occupancy at $100, or a 100-room hotel at 50% occupancy at $200? And it's not a trick question. It's a lead into the value of occupancy and the destruction of asset and value and what have you. I also go to the what I would say the early bird special. Once you discount, you can't get out of that hole.
No, never.
Or you have to change your demographics, change your market, change your personas to who you are, because you are now in that hole of, why should I pay twice as more what I used to pay half as?
Rank at the rate.
Yeah. So Ken, I'm sorry, that was the instigation of a question. So yes, go ahead.
I would tell you, and one of the things that we've obviously got in our software is autonomous revenue management, right? We don't believe in the human interaction when it comes to revenue management. We believe more on an AI-focused version, where I think that we've been just playing too much with rates all the time. It's just that now the guests themselves are so confused that when you give them a $60, $65 rate at a Marriott, they're like, something's got to be wrong. There's something wrong with this hotel. I'm going to have to check my whole bed. I'm going to have to, they might as well just go book the Clarion, a Choice Clarion hotel at $80 because they feel like $65 at this Marriott, something's wrong with that hotel. And that's where the confusion aspects have came in now with these brands. Is I truly thought that the brands needed to step in, and say, look, we can't do this. We can't have it at this rate. We can't operate this way. I mean, I've seen, even I think, what was it? May. It was May that I saw one of the brands, an upper mid-scale brand, their hotel room was at $42. And then I saw another hotel brand across the street be at $79. And I was like, this just can't happen. I mean, this is not how we operate. And unfortunately, it is what it is. And I mean, I know COVID was this act of where just, it's like a surprise birthday party, right? You walk into a surprise birthday party and you don't even know whose birthday it is. But, and I feel even right now, I live in Alpharetta, and before COVID, they called us the Silicon Valley of the South. and we've got all the tech hubs and everything. Before COVID, their ADR here was over $130, right? And now, I mean, they're somewhere around like 108, 109. They're still doing well. They're still operating. I mean, we still got people traveling. The house prices haven't went down. I mean, you can't get a house price over here for less than $500,000. And I know hotels pack up because people are coming into closing on their homes. But there's markets, right? There's markets that are still doing well.
Well, you pointed out, from a perspective of growth for hotel ownerships, whether it be, the Four Seasons and so forth as examples. The reason why certain people are not running hotels of that level. Look at what the hotels. Four Seasons didn't go to $100 rate. They closed.
Yeah.
They refused to lower themselves below the standard of what it takes for them to operate at that standard. Period. And Adele, you know better than anybody.
They knew the damage that would do to them long term.
Would be long term. And Adele, you know better than any of us in the New York market. There are hotels that closed out of dignity. I mean, flat out, we're not going to put ourselves into this blood-watered, survive at any cost, rate whatever cost it's going to be. And that goes itself to the mentality of the ownerships of those saying it is better to have closed for whatever length of time it is than to lower our integrity and try to dig out of a hole we never can get out of. Or even to sell it, to simply say that it's worth this to be as it is, rather than to sell it as some second-rate dive hotel that's trying to scrape by with whatever it takes to keep the lights flickering.
And I'll even add on to that. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. Go, please.
I'll even add on to that is speaking to a few hedge funds on that is they have these $150 million hotels in their portfolio, right? And their mindset was close the door. We don't want our valuation to be down in the water, right? Their valuations the valuations that they had these hotels at as an asset manager as well is like, okay, we valued this project to be at this dollar amount. And if we're going to sell these rooms below even like what we think it's going to be at, our valuation is going to go down. Mm-hmm. And I thought, the strategy was great because you know what? If I knew that if I could stay at a St. Regis for $100, it wouldn't feel the same to me.
Nope.
It wouldn't feel, I'm not paying $700 anymore. I stayed at the Deer Valley St. Regis in Utah, right? It's $1,000 a night there, right? But if they told me that I had to pay $100 or $200, I don't feel like I'm getting that experience. I'm not getting the full experience, and I know I'm not getting the full experience. If I'm not paying $1,000 for a room, I'm not going to get the full experience, whether it be in the restaurant, the spa, the pool, or whatever, because I'm not going to see the employees. I know I'm not going to end up seeing the employees.
I want to get back to something you've said because I'm going to pull my inner Lily out. Thanks, Adele, for bringing her back into the dialogue. You mentioned that your platform is going to be pure AI for revenue management.
I wanted to unpack that a little bit too.
I want to go back to that a little bit because I'm not really good with letting the machine run the system as entirely as that sounded. So
and to clarify, you're not
feeling that that's the better choice.
Well,
I think AI and humans together make a better solution than either just humans or just AI.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get a little bit more clarity.
Yeah, I feel that way too, actually.
We have a virtual assistant to it. I'm not going to say that there's zero human interaction to it.
Good.
But, I think I felt being in that revenue management game for so long, it's like, man, people are clicking the wrong buttons all the time, right? So now let a virtual assistant guide them. There's going to be a human interaction to it, but it's almost like I have to ask Google in the morning, what's my calendar for the day? Or I have to ask Google, what's the weather for the day? Or what do I need to accomplish today? What do I need to do so my wife doesn't get mad today? Things like that. And we felt like to add that to the revenue management. So if there is somebody that's never done revenue management Now the virtual assistant will guide them through the entire process.
That's excellent.
We also
that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to channel my inner Tim Peter. He's another one of our co-hosts.
We're just channeling everybody today. There we go.
I mean, he always says technology and specifically AI isn't going to replace you, but smart people who use that technology will replace you because, there's no, especially right now, even as sophisticated as machine learning has gotten, and we use a lot in our technology, there are still blind spots, right? It still relies on historical data a lot of times to make inferences. So, a lot of the automated revenue management tools that did fine during average times shit the bed completely during COVID because they had no model to base their predictions on. And so same can be said on an upside. Maybe there's a demand generator that comes to your town that isn't factored into the algorithm. Humans have to interact with it at that point and modify and tweak the dials a little bit to make sure that you're not missing an opportunity or not, losing your shirt because you didn't count for something that was unexpected.
Yeah, and I would tell you, when we looked at this whole thing, I compare a lot of what I do within the stock market. And the stock market's got a lot of different formulas, a lot of different data, a lot of different models behind it. And I compare that data to hospitality. And when we wanted to do it, we just didn't want to create a virtual assistant where you kind of hover over a mouse and tells you what it is. We wanted to make it voice activated. We wanted it to go on these different models, right? How do you get to a certain thing? Okay, you want to be at this ADR. Okay, this is what it's going to take for you to get to that ADR. We wanted to influence people more that don't get in the game of discounts. Don't think about you discount it. That's how you're going to get people. You lower your rate. That's how you're going to get people. Let's be creative, right? And that goes on a financing model as well. That's why companies have creative financing models. We want to get to creative revenue management. Let's not just think about lowering something and more people will come. We kind of wanted to wash away with that model. And we didn't agree with anything that said lower rate. We said, let's add value to it. Higher the rate, give them a 20, just like you guys were saying, $20 gift cards. Let's add value to it, right? Because I look at it, if we add more points to it or we add other things to it, we can add value to it. And that's how our valuation gets stronger. That's how our integrity gets stronger, right? The guest values things that have a higher dollar amount.
So can we jump back to your company? Because I got to jump in a couple of minutes. I have a hard cut off. I apologize, but I'm interested in the company and the project that you're undertaking. So where are you in the life of your company? Like in terms of the structure, what's your hiring timing looking like? How big is the development team going to be? Can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, so currently we have about, so we've got a team together right now, and we have a partnership that currently had the hospitality software. We're adding everything into their software. So they're actually the developers of the project currently. They're the developers of the phase one. Doesn't mean the other phases, they could change, So what we did is we just took their software, and that's our niche right now. How we're cutting out the development time is we're building the partnerships with the other softwares, and we're taking their softwares and we're implementing it into EvHuman, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that public who the partner is, or is that confidential?
No, that's confidential right now, just because, obviously there's companies that are involved that are public companies too. So they're not private companies. So, when it comes to public companies, you got to make certain announcements and file with the SEC. So, till we get to that level. But I could tell you, there's one company that we're working with for phase 2 is contactless ordering during the restaurant side. And then I just got off a call with a company out in Utah that's more on the accounting, the if you've heard of a hotel effectiveness, very similar to what they do. They're a startup. Most of our work right now is working with the companies that are startups.
Gotcha.
So we've
You're
taken
kind of bringing together these different components into one.
Right.
Who are your financial backers? You mentioned hedge fund a couple of times.
Yeah, so we've got 2 hedge funds. We've got an angel investor and a VC. We've raised about so far 148 million. We're looking at getting up to 400. So that's where we kind of are. I don't think we're gonna. I think we'll be at that target within probably 4 months. So right now we've had conversations with people out in San Francisco, Texas, somebody that's actually out in Dubai as well, and then somebody that's going to be rolling out with the software very soon. He's actually sold his software company in 2016, so he's up in New York. I just got off the phone with him yesterday. He put us in touch with a few other people, and we're going to be utilizing him to what he's doing on the e-commerce side. So there's a lot of players. We feel that it's not only about EvHotel Group and it's not about EvHuman. We want everybody to be involved in this. We want everybody and anybody to be involved. We want this to be a collaboration. As you said, right? So thousands of people have tried, right? But thousands of people haven't collaborated with other people. If we have 1,000 companies collaborate with us, that's great. That's phenomenal.
So help me understand that. So you're saying you're going to build the technology, but then you want to work with other partners too? So like Fuel, for example, with our booking engine, if we wanted to plug our booking engine into your ecosystem, is that what you're talking about when you say partnerships?
Yeah. So basically, you would be tied into EvHuman. Okay. It benefits you, benefits us. Both of us are making revenues at that point. So you still would have your software, but it would be tied into EvHuman itself. If that makes sense.
Sure. Okay.
What is EvHuman?
What's that?
What is EvHuman?
That's the name of the software. So yeah, that's going to be the name of the software. I know I think the event that I did on Wednesday, that's where we released the launch date and the name of the software. I don't think our director of communications, she's even put that on LinkedIn yet, because I told her that I wanted to wait till next week. So you guys hear?
When is the launch date?
Right there.
Yeah, right here.
I'm sorry?
When is the launch date?
It's Memorial Weekend.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Memorial Weekend.
So you're taking proposals right now?
We are. So I think this is such a topic that, and I got to be honest about this, is that did I think we would get 54 already? I had no idea. I thought we were going to get 50 in 6 months. And now we've had more than 54, where we've had to put people on the side and we've had to tell them, look, you know what? Our implementation team was only geared for 60 hotels. So as of right now, we're looking to hire implementation teams that can get us to 200 hotels. So, I mean, can I tell you by Memorial Weekend, we'll have 200 hotels? I mean, we have another 150 that want to sign up, but we have to tell them to hold because we don't have the teams ready. So the demand is very high, and I could see it why. I think we have a lot of people that are frustrated. We have a lot of owners that have management companies that haven't done anything. Just basically they feel like they're paying them the management fee. They're not getting them the revenue, and their expenses are enormous. So, I would love to say that we can get those other people onto it. And, it's very tough right now because we didn't expect this to get to this level so fast. But people are loving the idea. I mean, the guests are loving it. I did a forum with, these top 10 companies that are corporate travelers, and I mean, just the guest feedback is what I fall on. If the guests love it, the employees love it, then we're good. We're definitely good.
I want to change the gear while Stuart's still with us real quick for 5 minutes or so, because I think, like you said, so you have to leave at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
One thing that's turned into a kind of a growing concern, and that I think you're related to, as to how you integrate or potentially will integrate and so forth. What is the value proposition you see in the multiplicity of brands? Just, okay, Marriott's run 30 plus brands. I'm not going to try to be specific with it. They're trying to retool Sheraton, obviously, to have some value proposition, just simply because of the metrics of inventory. And you have all these other brands. Given what's going on with COVID, given what brand has fallen far short of or is trying to compete, how do you fit into that dialogue as you go forward with we represent a solution process that may not have been given to you by what brand is doing in all its flavors? So first question is, what do you feel about the multiplicity of brand? And secondly, how do you fit into the conversation of brand solution to those that are looking to invest into hotel? As you said, hotels are being built for whatever purpose, they're still being built. How do you fit into that dialogue with them going, okay, we have a better solution, or this is our solution?
So I've had conversations with the brands, and I would tell you that, we've told them, I said, look, we would love you guys to be part of this, right? We would love you guys to jump on board. Let's do it. Let's do it right. You guys know me for years. We've worked together, and I think the biggest topic here is that whether we think about the brands want to do it or the brands don't want to do it, they might want to see how well this goes and then jump on board later. But I don't really know their whole feedback to it. I mean, I introduced, so it was a long time ago, but Core came into the picture, and Core loved it to what I did with utilizing Core at a hotel, and IHG wanted to know all about it, and that's how IHG become the preferred vendor for Core. So that's the relationship that goes with the brands and the software, right? If they feel that this is going to work, then they're going to want to utilize it. But I don't think they're going to want to jump on board without seeing it in the works, without seeing the results.
Well, I think you're going to have another challenge there in terms of that. A lot of the brands are very protective of their ecosystem. Like, that's part of the value they provide to their properties. So, they may see you as a threat more than an opportunity, would be my guess.
Oh yeah, I already know that. I mean, they already told me that. They already came out and said that, we feel like this is a disruption. I'm like, well, then be part of it. I'm like, I don't want you to not be part of it. That's what I'm telling you. But I have a great relationship with some of these global heads. I've done podcasts with them and other events as well. And I would tell you, it's if I felt this was coming from the outside, they wouldn't take too kindly to it. But as they know that this is coming from the inside, they're geared more towards listening, right? They're geared towards more knowing that other hoteliers are going to like it. Like, we're going to build a strong relationship with AHOA. AHOA is the largest, hotel association in the world. We'll build relationships with the African American community that owns hotel owners, the Hispanic community that owns hotels. I mean, we're going to just develop all these different relationships with the Forbes Business Council, then these other councils as well. So, and that's kind of what we're on the media connection right now, is to make sure everybody's on the same page. And, the brands themselves, they know if the hoteliers are on it, they're going to want to be on it. At that point, there's going to be that discussion down that line.
It's been a pleasure meeting you. I got to jump off, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's connect. We'll definitely connect.
So if you want to know more about you and where it is they can find you, where can they find you, and how do they connect?
Yeah, fueltravel.com is the mothership. You can get 176 episodes of the Fuel Hotel Marketing Podcast there. Soon to be 177 on Monday. So yeah, go check it out. Learn about all that stuff.
Yeah,
Sam, listen for me.
It was a
All
pleasure.
right, guys. Yeah, nice to meet
Thanks,
you.
sir.
Take
Thanks.
care.
So
Hey,
Ken, if I can go ahead, Dane. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I went earlier on. I've been trying to find a moment to jump in on this actually. Something I caught you say earlier, and I wanted to come back to. You mentioned an e-commerce platform
Yes.
that you were working with some guy that worked with an e-commerce, and that was ding 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 ding. I wanted to come back to that because that is an area we see within a lot of programs that are built out there that there's a lot of them that are built for back of house operational type of programs, and we've talked a lot about those, right? And then there are programs that are built for e-commerce, search engine marketing, and all those different things. Those two don't often communicate with each other, though, and so that's why when you said that caught my attention. Can you tell us more about that e-commerce platform that you're?
Yeah, so I simply love it. Hold on, my battery's low. Give me a second. Let me grab my charger.
Here. So meanwhile, let's go over and talk about him while he's not there. Oh, dang it. No, he's not. He's there. Okay.
All right, perfect.
There we go.
These surfaces, I thought they got good battery life. I guess
They
not.
do. We eat up the internet when we do this simulcasting. Little do we know that we suck the battery life out of everything.
Yeah.
For the people that are watching us.
No, and I mean, back to your question. So he actually sold his software in 2016 for millions of dollars, I believe. And he wanted to do something else. He owns apartment buildings in New York City. And we just connected. I mean, it's our Dubai connection. And, I think it's so great because I was looking for something that's going to drive brand engagement, right? As to let's get into the phase of, okay, let's get people away from booking on OTAs. Even though their first interaction would be booking through the OTA, they come to the hotel. This software is going to be able to get them more engaged on a brand level. And it's got the incentive package to go behind it. It's got a rewards program that goes behind it as well. And it can be utilized. It's more of a reminder of everything. Okay. It's more of a reminder of like, if you booked it at this hotel, now it's going to send you a message of where you actually might have said something at that hotel. It's got a communication level where it's going to remind you that you booked it through this hotel last time, or it's going to give you a reminder of this, or it's just going to create this engagement level through that e-commerce site. And if you want to check it out, it's we haven't, so you guys heard it here, but we're still in the talking phase. He's going to be rolling it out very soon. It's called Getting Local. So we are actually speaking about it, and I love the concept. I felt like it was a great concept, and especially what we're trying to do. And it's really geared towards the guest side of things and creating that ultimate brand engagement. So we wanted to really focus, and that's where we have certain areas where we focus, and it also goes back to, when we talk about distribution channels, right? I feel that we've put so much focus on these distribution channels that we haven't focused enough on brand engagement and how we can entice the guests to get away from the OTAs, right? The guest is why the OTAs strive so much is they've got great marketing dollars, right? They've got enough money to buy AdWords all day long. They all have to press one button and they're buying every single AdWord. And now we haven't done anything, even at a hotel level or a brand level, that has given the guests an enticement. All we've seen is
we try. We try.
And I tell you is we're just saying we'll give you points. We'll give you this, we'll give you that, but they still don't want to book it. We have to find another route. And that's where we feel technology comes into play. we have to get where we said before, I think one of the things that I always found it to be so funny for the brands is they kept pushing getting emails from the guest, right? But then I'm like, if the guest is calling the CRSs or whatever customer service numbers when they're booking their reservations, why didn't we get emails then, right? So we're now thinking of, okay, let's get the email and then we'll create better brand engagement. But I always thought that was a false hope, that I didn't feel getting an email was the way of creating brand engagement. I felt like if somebody gives me something, and that even goes at the front desk, if they give me a bottle of water, I'm so happy, right? That bottle of water costs 18 cents, right? Now, can we present something to these guests that costs 10 to 20 cents and that creates better brand engagement? Of course. Of course. It doesn't cost much. And that's the route we wanted to take, is that they didn't have to do anything for us. We wanted to create a partnership between the guest and us. And that even happens. If you look at this, I'll tell you a hotel to look at. It's called a Southernmost in Key West. It's not branded, it's a boutique. We actually booked it, right? Not eight, I think it's $800, $900 a night to stay there. Beautiful, right? They've got all these pools, different spas, and it just makes you seem like this luxury boutique style, right? Their website isn't the greatest website now, okay? But what enticement I saw is like, okay, you book it, you're gonna get an airline credit, you're gonna get this percentage off this other partnership. And me as a hotelier, as a guest, as an employee, and as a everything in hospitality, I was like, wow, as a consumer. So I had to call my cousin up that works on Wall Street. And I'm like, I want you to check this website and I want you to tell me what you feel about it if you had to book at this hotel. And I'm like, don't even look at any of the pictures. Just go directly and just hit book. And he's like, they got incentives. They got some things that you can book with. And I'm actually getting something now while I'm booking. And that kind of just clicked with me. And I was like, you know what? We got to get something like this. We have to get something like this.
Everybody likes presents.
Yeah.
But I don't travel to get points. I get points so I can travel more. I'm looking for the experience. And what I really like is, that human connection where I am treated like I'm special. And that 18-cent bottle of water is simply an extension of, we care so much about you. We've been thinking about you, and we're sure that you must be thirsty by now after that flight and the travel in. And so I welcome you. Yeah. And I think a lot of places have replaced the focus on that hospitality with Wizzy Gizmos. I like Wizzy Gizmos, but I'm here for the whole package, including, feeling like a movie star when I.
Yeah, and I would tell you, it's like everything we want to do is already there. We're reinventing hospitality. So everything that we're looking to do as well, it's not like we're inventing something here. This is something that we feel like things are already there. We're not utilizing it. Let's reinvent it. Let's come out with it where it's all part of one, right? Like the experience of a guest booking, the experience of check-in, the experience of their room, the experience of breakfast, the experience for the employee. So it's an overall experience now where the guest is able to do anything, whether it's with our chatbots, they want to order Walmart delivery, get DoorDash, Uber Eats, call Uber, call this, call that. Now it's that whole experience that we have not been able to dive into. And e-commerce plays a big part in this. e-commerce has to play a big part in this for this to work. And we know, I mean, technology right now without e-commerce is nothing. It
So on that note, so if I was one of your hotels in your management company, and I wanted to, so I'm in MetaSearch, right? That's what I do, and I wanted to run a MetaSearch campaign, and wanted my management company to do that. How would you go about that?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
So if I was one of the hotels in your portfolio, in your management portfolio, and I wanted to run, whether it be a MetaSearch campaign or a search engine marketing campaign or a display ads or something like that, with an is your system all inclusive from A to Z, as we said earlier? Does it have methods to do that? Because we're talking about e-commerce.
Yes. So we definitely do. And that is something that is going to come down the line. But, I mean, without that, you're not making money, right?
Right. That's why I'm asking. Yeah, exactly. So tell me more about how that would work.
Yeah. I mean, we've tied it all into it. And as that develops right now, it's not part of the development stage, but we want to roll that out. But we want to roll it out strategically. We don't want to just say, oh yeah, we're going to roll this thing out and it's the same way as everybody else. We're more in like, if something is out there, we want to do it, but we want to do it that it's been done in the past. We don't want to do it the same exact way like it's been done in the past. So we want to strategically think about how we're going to come out with it, what we're going to do with it, and how we're going to even present it. So whether it be presented in this way or it be presented in that way, we just want it to be very different from what it was before. Just like, when you would deal with Google, right? When you're searching within Facebook, you're going to see certain ads or they're sponsored ads or in that aspect, right? So how do we get it to be more attractive, I would say? We want it to be more attractive, to be more presentable.
Let me do blue pill, green pill kind of question for you. So here you are approaching the market where you are trying to look for active collaboration or disruptive relationship with brand. By the same token, you have independent hotels that are already designatedly not brand related. And we know there's a lot of value proposition to brands, financial support, financial capabilities for hotels to be built, stabilities, projections, so forth. If you had your druthers, red pill being brand, because Marriott's red, versus all independent hotels coming to you with the earnest desire to take your entire tech stack on. Now, I know you may want to brand yourself or anything in the future, but if you had that choice now, which in a way you do, which would you pursue the most? The relationship of the inventories available to brand in the hope of collaboration, or say, nope, we're going to go to the independent side and we're going to look for everybody that is willing to join our party over here in lieu of all the brands?
Do I really have to make a choice? Because I like both.
Yes. Just for purposes of this argument, I'll say you have to choose one pill. You can't swallow both.
I gotta say this. My heart belongs to the brands because I've been doing this for so long, and I feel like I want this. Excuse me. I want this to do well so the brands can succeed, the hoteliers can succeed, the employees, and the guests will always come back. So, are we doing this for the money? Not really. I mean, I would say, yeah, we want to make money, but when you do something for so long and you want it to be at this level because you've done it for so long and you want it to be done very well, right? I look at it as an employee, but I also look at it as a guest because I do go to hotels and I work in hotels. So I want that success level to be at this enormous probably reach that I think they can get to. But without us doing certain things, we can't get to it. And I don't want to say that I don't want to work with the brands. I mean, we're also involved with boutique styles, independent properties. Are they going to be more keen to signing up with us quicker? Of course. I mean, that's going to happen. Where they see something like this And boutique style, they're all about technology, right? They want to work with technology. They want to work on technology. So, and they want to be up with the current trends. And that's where we feel that this is for everybody. But we would love for the brands to kind of say, yeah, let's do this and let's make this happen. I don't know what their thought process is. I wish I had a crystal ball. I mean, I get a lot of positives right now, so that gives me, great hopes, but don't know what the end result will be. And if it so-called happens that they don't want to work with us and they get pressured from the hoteliers, I guess maybe that's the route. So
Of the ones that you have in the pipeline, you mentioned you have 54 that you're implementing right now. Do they break more towards the branded or the independent side of those?
I would say more towards the boutique, upper mid-scale, luxury.
No,
we
no flag.
was that
Without a flag.
without a flag, without a flag.
Okay.
So, but if I had to put a percentage, I would say 30-70. So 30% branded, 70% not branded. And they're all the 70% is on the luxury side, so they're not below luxury.
I've heard you say that make human life better. Do I have it right? Is your mission statement?
No, you got it completely wrong. It's let's make human life better.
What?
Let's make human life better.
Let's make human life better, not make human life better. Let's make.
You're close.
I love it. So can you describe how the system and the plan that you have will help us? Let's make human life better.
Yeah, so I would tell you, and it goes through my adventure. And as my daughter on days she calls me Dora the Explorer. So I guess they can, and sometimes she calls me Ken the Explorer. But exploring through this industry for 24 years, I've found it that human life wasn't better. Where we had so much work, we had so much stress, and there was no solution to that. Where we are planning to make the GM life better, we are planning to make the human life better, make the employee life better, I should say, make the guest life better, make everyone's life better. Because what we're doing is we're putting technology in to create less workload. And when we create less workload, we put more emphasis now on our guests. And that overall is going to create a better environment and culture. Because as we know, hospitality's culture isn't great. I mean, that's why we have the highest turnover percentage of any industry in the world.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just not there. And it goes down to even COVID, as GMs were working 5 front desk shifts. No GM signed a contract and said they're going to work 5 front desk shifts. No housekeeper signed a contract saying cleaning 25 rooms. Now, did they get paid more for that? No, they got their pays cut.
Yeah, and they're begging for help, for some support.
And that's where and that's where we came up with it. This is all about making the overall human life better. It's making sure our employees, our guests, hoteliers, anybody, is making sure we're streamlining the processes now. And we're making sure that, we don't have to go through what we did before. Doesn't matter if it was during COVID or pre-COVID. I mean, pre-COVID, it was worse. I mean, I could tell you that. Things were worse when it comes to the workload and the things that we had to do in this industry than it was even during COVID. COVID just brought things to life.
Well, Adele, I mean, thank you for your time. I mean, it's almost been up to 2 hours at this point, and I don't want to make sure that we've hit everything we want to talk to. Adele, was there anything that you want to make sure we hit, or a question that we had, or anything like that you want to make sure that we include in the conversation, or?
No, just that point about the mission statement. I was surprised it didn't come up earlier. It seems really central to your thinking, and
Appreciate
I think if you keep focusing on that, you can't help but find a way to make it happen. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, we will. We will. I think everybody within the company knows that what my vision is and what we're striding to here. Obviously we're going to have some obstacles, major obstacles, and that becomes where, when you're considered to disrupt anything, you know, there's negativity that comes along with it, right? So we're up for the challenge. We know what we got ourselves into, and but we're positioned very well. We feel that we have great adoption, and we've got a great team. We've got great people, and you know, um, we feel we have got great partners as well.
I know a lot of people, a lot of really smart, clever people are looking for a position for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So what kind of people are you looking for? And if so, where would they be able to reach you?
Yes, of course. So they can obviously find me on LinkedIn, but if they ever wanted to see if we had any open positions or anything like that, the HR email is evrecruiter@evhotelgroup.com. Jeez, I guess I lost there. evrecruiter@evhotelgroup.com. I'm going to get trashed by all the employees now.
Yeah. So, Dean, anything that you want to make sure we didn't miss? Any questions you may have?
I was actually just browsing your website or your LinkedIn site and your website, both actually, as we speak. So yeah, definitely getting in contact with you, and we'll connect on there. But no, not at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, the website's not up. We try to kill our IT guy every day because he told us end of January, and here we are, February. So, we're hoping to. It's going to be a out of this world website. We have one of the features is called EV calculator in there, so it's going to be something very interesting, and that's what we're doing. I mean, this is like I said, reinventing. We're taking everything that used to be the same way. We don't want it to be the same way, so we want everything to be this way now. So,
cool.
I appreciate you guys having me on as well. It's been a great pleasure. Hopefully see you guys in the future. I know I will with Adele, but hopefully see you guys in the near future. And we have some great things coming up. We have some surprises coming up. We're doing a 6-episode series on a show right now. CNBC's in the works in the next few months here. So, but your show can't beat CNBC. I know that.
No.
I actually have a conversation with Ken Patel that I have 2 parts to. We talk about some things the same, but a lot of different things than we talked about today. Yeah. So I hope everybody will check out the Hospitality Reputation Marketing Podcast. Lauren, when is it going to go on?
The first one is going to go today. Actually, we're going to launch that out today for the.
So if you want more Ken Patel and Adele, you can view that.
Yeah, and I'm coming back again. I mean, this was really good. I liked it. It's very different than what I normally do, so I enjoyed it. The topics were really. I like to talk about things like that. I'm like I said, my heart is in hospitality, and I'll never shy away from that. It'll always be there, and what I want to do is just make this industry just to make it much better, to make it where people do want to work for us, where people do want to come to work, employees, guests, owners, everybody. I mean, we're such a large, I've said this before, they should just change LinkedIn to hospitality in, because it is, it's about the hospitality, it's our own social media. So, but it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much for making it today and taking all the time literally all the time which is great. We love it when guest hosts can stay with us the entire duration of this. Dean, just not to be remiss for all of us, and Adele, we need to get back to you, but for Dean first, how can people get a hold of you and what is it you do and all that kind of good stuff?
So I specialize in meta-search marketing, and that goes two directions, actually. One is about helping people learn about it, kind of the educational side. There's a lot of people who previously did not have to deal with it and now all of a sudden are being tasked with it, whether you be at the hotel or at a digital marketing agency. And so at Basecamp Meta, we have an educational resource talking about exactly that. The other side is people that need to actually do something with it and are looking for people to help with a consultation about who should I partner with, what are the technology platforms out there that do that. Or for that matter, if you're a small hotel and maybe a 10-room bed and breakfast in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're going, how can I run Meta? I don't even have a booking engine. Guess what? I can do that. And so that's what we specialize in. That's at metasearchmarketing.com, or find me, Dean Schmidt, on LinkedIn.
And Adele, not to be remiss, with the new AdeleGutman.com.
Yes, please link in with me, Adele Gutman on LinkedIn. I really appreciate it. And follow my YouTube channel, which you will see right on the homepage now of AdeleGutman.com. And if you need anybody to coach you about how to get great reviews, that's what I'm all about. The guest experience, culture, optimizing your team performance by creating a great atmosphere for them to work on, and a collaborative approach that also makes life better for everybody. Yes, Ken and I agree on that. I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, a happy President's Day, and most of all, a happy birthday to Dean Schmidt.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mr. Dean.
Happy Valentine's Day.
For all of this show and all previous 287 episodes, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Look for show number 288 for this one. This, of course, will be rebroadcast as usual on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Sydney time, at 11:30 a.m. London time. And we, of course, always translate this into 11 languages for closed captioning for all of our friends internationally. So with that in mind, again, Ken, thank you. Too bad your evil twin, Ben, didn't show up, but that's okay. We'll take the good Ken. And we look forward to seeing everyone next week, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Fridays. Till then, thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.